Have you ever felt that a painting is watching you, and not the other way around? That's exactly what happens with Lucifer by Franz von Stuck, created in the year 1890, an artwork that seems to breathe darkness, power, and reflection. This oil on canvas, more than 1.5 meters tall, depicts a naked, muscular man with folded black wings, seated in the shadows with a gaze so intense it seems to pierce the viewer's soul. There are no horns, no monster. There is humanity. That is Stuck's greatest provocation, presenting the fallen angel not as an infernal being, but as a reflection of ourselves. Franz von Stuck, born in Bavaria in 1863, was one of the founders of the Munich Secession and a key figure in German symbolism. A total artist, painter, sculptor, designer, he explored the depths of the soul and myth with an almost philosophical lens. Lucifer was painted when he was only 27, in a Europe beginning to question its religious and moral certainties. His intention was not to glorify the devil, but to capture the exact instant of the fall, the moment when light still brushes against shadow. The composition is cold, silent, almost sepulchral. The faint bluish light behind the figure, like a broken moon or a divine reflection, recalls the glow of lost glory. His black wings, barely visible, suggest more of a burden than a power. His hand on his cheek shows him pensive, but not defeated. This is a Lucifer who contemplates, not one who surrenders, and there lies his strength in introspection. The story of this painting also carries its own mystery. In 1891, it was acquired by King Ferdinand I of Bulgaria, who kept it in his royal collection in Sofia. Visitors to the palace would cross themselves as they passed by it, frightened by its hypnotic stare. Decades later, it was moved to the National Museum of Bulgaria, and today it resides in the National Gallery, Square 500. Its preservation has required special care, as its dark tones and imposing size demand precise lighting to maintain its original dramatic impact. Over time, the interpretation of Lucifer has changed. What 19th century viewers saw as a disturbing portrait of evil is now understood as a meditation on human duality, ambition, pride, the desire to be more, and the punishment of self-awareness. It does not represent absolute evil, but the soul that rebels, the intellect that challenges its creator. Some see in his eyes the melancholy of exile, others the flame of forbidden knowledge. In any case, the painting forces us to look inward. Its symbolism is powerful. The nudity expresses vulnerability, the dark wings symbolize lost purity, and the cold light in the background evokes nostalgia for the divine. It is the eternal conflict between pride and repentance. Stuck's Lucifer is not an enemy of God, but a wounded child of light. That is why it moves us, because deep down we all carry our own fall within us. Although there are no public records of major restorations, the painting's passage through various collections and museums has involved adjustments, cleanings, and changes of framing, part of its physical and symbolic journey. Its influence extended far beyond symbolism. It inspired generations of artists, writers, and filmmakers who saw in its ambiguity a metaphor for modern humanity. In its time, it caused a scandal precisely for that reason, for humanizing the devil, for showing that evil does not dwell in the shadows, but within ourselves. More than a century later, Lucifer remains a mirror. It speaks to us of pride, of downfall, of knowledge, and of the desire to become more than we are. His gaze does not seek to condemn but to invite understanding. Thus, before this painting, we see not only a fallen angel, but the representation of our own duality, the light we once were, the darkness we fear, and the spark of consciousness that still shines between them. Lucifer is not a painting about evil. It is a painting about the human condition, about the price of awakening, and the beauty that can still be found among the ruins of lost glory. Over the years, Lucifer has become one of the most discussed and reinterpreted works of European symbolism, precisely because it lies between myth and psychology. What Stuck did was take a biblical story and turn it into a mirror of the human soul. At the end of the 19th century, the Western world was experiencing deep tension between faith and reason. Nietzsche was proclaiming the death of God. Freud was beginning to explore the unconscious, and artists felt that truth was no longer found in cathedrals, but in the shadows of the mind. In that context, Lucifer embodied the modern man's conflict, the loss of spiritual innocence and the desperate search for meaning. There is no violence in the painting, no fire, no chains, no visible punishment. What exists is silence, reflection, and a kind of restrained sorrow. Lucifer's gaze is not one of hatred, but of knowledge. That is his punishment, to know too much. The symbolists believed that the greatest suffering of humankind is the awareness of its own fall, and that is precisely what Stuck captures. His Lucifer is not a villain. He is a being who once had everything, and now contemplates his own ruin, not with resentment, but with lucidity. That mix of pride and melancholy is what makes him so fascinating. On the character's face, we see a balance between serenity and contained rage. His eyes, faintly glowing, seem to reflect an inner fire that never dies. That spark symbolizes both rebellion and wisdom, because Lucifer, whose Latin name means bearer of light, was before anything else a symbol of enlightenment. In fact, many philosophers and artists later reinterpreted the figure of Lucifer, not as a demon, but as a metaphor for the spirit that seeks truth, even if it means defying order itself. Thus, some critics believe Stuck did not paint God's enemy but the first free thinker, the angel who dared to question. The naked, muscular body, without ornament, recalls the classical ideal, the perfection of Greek sculpture. But instead of a victorious hero, Stuck presents a defeated deity, a fallen divinity. This tension between heroic form and an expression of exhaustion creates a disturbing ambiguity, beauty trapped in failure. Many scholars see in this a representation of the artist himself, a creator defying divinity through art, using painting as an act of silent rebellion against established order. In that sense, Lucifer can be read as a symbolic self-portrait of Franz von Stuck, a reflection of his inner conflict between spirituality, sensuality, and reason. Technically, the work stands out for its masterful use of chiaroscuro. Stuck employs a limited palette dominated by blacks, browns, and metallic blues, creating a dense, almost hypnotic atmosphere. The background seems to absorb the light, making the angel's body the sole focal point. This handling of contrast not only enhances the dramatic tension, but also reinforces the symbolic message: light only acquires meaning when confronted with darkness. Every brushstroke seems designed to express that eternal dilemma between the divine and the human. Another important detail is the body's posture. Lucifer's pose, with his elbow resting on his knee and his hand supporting his face, evokes that of a thinker. Many have compared it to Rodin's famous sculpture, though Stuck conceived his painting before the thinker became iconic. The similarity is no coincidence. Both artists explored the image of man facing himself, the inner struggle that defines consciousness. In Lucifer, that gesture becomes the symbol of a mind that cannot find peace. Throughout its history, the work has also been subject to esoteric interpretations. Some occult researchers claim that Stuck encoded hermetic symbols into the composition. The arrangement of the wings, for example, forms an inverted triangle symbol of spiritual descent. The line of light across the upper section may represent the broken link between heaven and earth. Even the body's posture recalls meditative positions, suggesting that the fall is not only a punishment, but also a path towards self-knowledge. These mystical readings made the painting famous among 20th century occult circles, who saw in Lucifer the image of an initiate expelled from the paradise of dogma to seek truth on his own. In the decades that followed, Stuck's Lucifer inspired surrealist and expressionist artists who echoed its blend of beauty and darkness. Its influence can be traced in films, fantasy illustrations, and contemporary album art. What is fascinating is that despite its age, the painting never seems dated. Every generation interprets it differently. Believers see it as a warning, philosophers as a metaphor for consciousness, and artists as a declaration of creative independence. Even its museum journey mirrors its symbolic story. Born in Germany, revered by a king, surviving wars, transfers, and long silences, it now hangs in Sofia as a testament to art's power to transcend belief and boundary. It is ironic that a painting depicting a fall has itself endured with such resilience, perhaps because it contains a truth not bound to myth but to human nature itself. And indeed, Lucifer does not merely portray a biblical episode, it represents something universal: the loss of innocence, the pursuit of knowledge, the price of freedom. In his eyes burns the same spark that drove Prometheus to steal fire from the gods, that led Adam to taste the forbidden fruit, and that pushes humanity to question everything. It is the flame of understanding, even when it means falling. Thus, when we gaze upon the work, we feel both admiration and unease. We are drawn to its beauty, but unsettled by its truth. It reminds us that within each of us lives a battle between light and shadow, between submission and freedom, between obedience and thought. Stuck's Lucifer is not a religious figure. It is an existential mirror. And perhaps that is why it still looks back at those who dare to look, as if asking, would you too defy heaven to know the truth? That question, more than a century later, remains as powerful as the day the painting first saw the light. Because in the end, we have all fallen at some point. We have all felt the weight of broken wings, and somewhere within us, we are still searching for the light we once lost. Lucifer does not merely represent the fallen angel, it embodies the eternal human condition, the curse and the privilege of thinking, feeling and desiring beyond the limits set by gods or by ourselves. The power of Lucifer does not lie solely in its technical mastery or in the perfection of its brushwork, but in how it condenses centuries of philosophy, religion, and psychology into a single haunting image. It is a painting that seems motionless, yet vibrates from within. Franz von Stuck did not simply paint a figure, he painted a state of the soul. The observer who stands before it cannot remain indifferent. There is something in those eyes that captures and holds you, as if the angel's gaze fell upon your own conscience and whispered silently, I too was light, and you too can fall. That invisible dialogue between the painting and the viewer is what has given this work its hypnotic power throughout the ages. Stuck understood that the true power of art does not come from showing what everyone sees, but from revealing what everyone feels and few dare to face. In the face of his Lucifer lives the eternal conflict between duty and desire, obedience and freedom. It is the embodiment of the spirit's rebellion, the refusal to accept an imposed destiny. For that reason, more than a demonic figure, Lucifer stands as a symbol of individuality, of independent thought, of inward search. His fall is not a punishment, but the inevitable result of having chosen to think for himself. This interpretation has made modern artists and thinkers reclaim him as a symbol of awakening consciousness. In our age, Lucifer is often seen as the archetype of the non-conformist, the creator, the philosopher who dares to break the chains of dogma. Nietzsche would have admired him as the spirit freed from moral constraint. Carl Jung would have recognized him as the shadow, the hidden self that must be acknowledged to reach wholeness. And the symbolists regarded him as the perfect metaphor for human duality, the beauty of sin, the purity of the fall, the glory of thought. In late 19th century Germany, this was deeply provocative. Society remained steeped in Christian morality and bourgeois discipline. To present Lucifer as beautiful, almost divine, was to defy convention. Yet Stuck did so without overt scandal, without grotesque excess or blasphemy. His provocation was subtle, refined, and therefore far more dangerous. He compelled the viewer to identify with the fallen one. There was no monster to hate, only a reflection to understand, and that was his boldest stroke. The anatomical precision of the painting intensifies its symbolism. The defined muscles, the tension in the shoulders and hands, the play of light across the skin, everything suggests a body ready to move, yet paralyzed by an invisible force. It is the moment before action, the instant when will and remorse wrestle within. This silent tension turns the work into more than a portrait. It becomes a psychological scene, a mirror of the human mind trapped between desire and guilt. Critics of the time recognized Stuck's genius, even when they did not grasp his message. Some hailed him as a new Michelangelo for the sculptural strength of his figures. Others accused him of flirting with the profane. History has since vindicated him. Today, Lucifer is not only his most famous painting, but one of the deepest visual meditations on evil, understood as an inner shadow rather than an external force. Evil, in Stuck's world, is not something alien. It is an echo inside every soul. Through the turbulent decades of the 20th century, the work continued to provoke debate. Spiritual movements, psychoanalysts and philosophers each found new meanings in it. To some, Lucifer symbolized the exile of the rational soul from the paradise of ignorance, the price of knowledge. To others, it reflected the arrogance of modern humanity, convinced it could replace God with reason. Yet Stuck himself never explained its meaning. He preferred mystery. Art must speak for itself, he said. Each viewer must see in Lucifer his own battle. Light and color are central to that battle. The light in the painting does not illuminate the angel fully. It grazes him, hesitant, as though afraid to touch him. It is a cold, distant light that offers no redemption. The surrounding darkness advances slowly, swallowing the edges of his body. Between these two forces, retreating light and encroaching shadow, time seems suspended. The viewer senses that something is about to happen, though it never does. That eternal pause, that still moment between fall and redemption, is where the poetry of the painting resides. Symbolically, Lucifer gathers fragments from many traditions. From Christianity, it borrows the myth of the fallen angel. From Greek legend, it takes the ideal of heroic beauty punished by hubris, like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun. From Romanticism, it inherits the idea of the tragic hero who confronts the infinite, even knowing he will fail. From symbolism, it draws its dreamlike language of gestures and archetypes. The result transcends religion. It is a visual poem about the nature of being human. Psychologically, the painting has been interpreted as a confession. Scholars have suggested that Stuck's Lucifer may represent his own struggle with faith, desire, and ambition. His perfectionism, his fascination with beauty and decay, and his persistent depiction of the male body as a vessel of spiritual power reveal deep inner conflict. Thus, Lucifer could be read as the artist's self-portrait, not of his face, but of his soul divided between the sacred and the sensual. Public reception has shifted across the decades. In the years after its creation, the painting was seen as disturbing yet majestic. During the World Wars, critics viewed it as a prophecy of Europe's moral collapse, a reflection of its arrogance and fall. Later generations reclaimed it as a bridge between spirituality and reason, a reconciliation of art and philosophy. Exhibited today in Sofia, shared endlessly across digital platforms, it has become a universal icon of introspection and defiance. Look closely and you will notice that Stuck paints no heaven, no hell, no fire, no thrones, only darkness and thought. It is a void, a mental landscape where nothing exists except consciousness itself. That absence of setting is deliberate. He wanted no distractions. Everything that matters lies within the expression. Lucifer looks neither up nor down. He looks inward, and in that inward gaze lies the entire human condition. In many ways, the painting anticipates modern psychology and the existential art of the 20th century. Its protagonist seeks not forgiveness nor redemption, but understanding. That inner search is what makes him timeless. Every generation that gazes upon him recognizes itself, the rebel, the thinker, the artist, the dreamer, the fallen one. Lucifer endures because it is not a story of the past, but of what we eternally are. Stuck once remarked that every artist must paint what he fears most. His greatest fear was the loss of light. That is why his Lucifer feels so human. He is the embodiment of that terror, the dread of never shining again. In his face we see both the memory of paradise and the acceptance of exile. His silence is no longer that of repentance, but of comprehension. And there, precisely, lies the universality of the work. All of us, at some point, have felt ourselves falling from our own light into a darkness only we can understand. To look at Lucifer is to confront what we usually conceal: the ambition, the pride, the longing to be more, and the melancholy for what we have lost. It is an uncomfortable mirror, yet a necessary one. In an age of noise and superficiality, this painting reminds us of the power of silence and the depth of introspection. It invites us to look beyond the surface, to explore the shadow with the same curiosity with which we pursue the light. More than a work of art, Lucifer is an experience, a gateway into the hidden chambers of the human heart, not an esoteric secret, but an emotional one. A meditative reflection on the cost of consciousness. Stuck achieved what few artists ever could. He painted not a body but a conflicted soul. And that soul, more than a century later, remains alive, seated in the darkness, watching us all, waiting for someone brave enough to meet its gaze. To stand before Lucifer is to sense a presence, to feel that the painting itself breathes. The stillness of the figure is deceptive. Within it, everything moves: memory, regret, rebellion, pride. The texture of the paint gives the flesh a strange vitality, as if it still glows faintly with a celestial residue. The wings, though black, shimmer with a spectral sheen, as though some divine dust still clings to them. Stuck understood material as metaphor. Every brushstroke speaks of weight, of gravity, of the cost of falling. And yet, despite the somber atmosphere, there is an undeniable beauty, even tenderness, in how he depicts the fallen being. This is not damnation, it is dignity in defeat. The angel may have fallen, but he remains magnificent, unbowed. That quiet grandeur transforms tragedy into transcendence. The viewer senses that within this stillness lies a hidden strength, a secret promise that even in exile there is meaning. This duality, beauty within darkness, strength within sorrow, is what makes Lucifer eternally relevant. In a world that constantly seeks heroes and villains, Stuck offers a more honest vision, that light and shadow coexist within us all. His painting whispers that the path to redemption does not come from denying the darkness, but from